The leaves are falling, and so am I. Not apart, but actually into myself. And in this season, it just really feels like ending, like something ending, and then there's a new beginning. So, my question to you is, have you ever hit a season where you felt like everything just feels off? Where the things you once prayed for start feeling heavy, confusing, or even meaningless? Yeah, I know. I've been there. So, welcome. I am Cynthia Flores. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I am your host. I am a Latina therapist, a storyteller, and also, honestly, today I'm a fellow human figuring life out just like many of you. And this fall has been one of the hardest seasons for me, not because something went wrong, but because I've been really learning to slow down. I guess I don't really know how to slow down. I've been really learning to surrender, to redefine your purpose needs to. So in today's solo episode, I am going to be sharing the biggest lessons that have been reshaping how I see myself, my career, my faith, and what it really means to grow for me right now in this season. If you're in this season of transition, feeling lost, unmotivated, or honestly just plain tired, this is what is for you. So grab your cafecito, grab your tea. Like lately, I've been in a transition in my life, and I do have to say that this is a bit of a vulnerable podcast episode because I don't really come in and share. A lot of my podcast is mainly about bringing on different experts and speakers to talk about mental health, relationships, healing, generational trauma, all of these things. But I feel like this fall has been a bit of a rough patch or start for me, not because I feel unstable, but because it's been just kind of like a little bit emotionally heavy. Been feeling a little lost, unmotivated with doing content, even for this podcast or just like overall content on my other platforms. Feeling a bit unmotivated in my business, really not being fully clear on my next steps. I've been, even in the work that I do, there's a lot of burnout, compassion fatigue, holding space for others, creating, leading, which I love doing all of these things. But we have those moments. And I think that's this fall for me. But honestly, this has been going on probably towards the end of summer. I'm barely just getting out of this funk right now. And for me, I've come to many realizations. I'm doing this, of course, 2025, beginning November, beginning of fall, a new season. And I definitely realized that I've outgrown certain things. And it's time for me to decide where I'm heading next. So sometimes I do get a lot of this decision fatigue, which we all do. We have to make these constant decisions, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a mom, if you're navigating relationships, life, career, family dynamics. There's a lot that goes into that. So for me, I'm just like, okay, what next, right? Maybe I've outgrown currently where I'm at, even in my business. What do I want to do? And that kind of brings up a lot of decision fatigue. But I've been very intentional with how I engage online. So I've been disconnecting a little bit from social media and really needing that time and space to go inward. Um, Giving myself permission to rest, to slow down, to be messy, to be in my feelings, and really letting go of these expectations that I have for myself. Because even though if I think, well, there's societal and all these external expectations, sometimes most of the time it's the expectations that I have for myself. And this is a lot of the work that I do with clients as well, Latinas, first gen, women of color, even the work that I do with men, which is a little bit different. But I am giving myself permission to release that pressure and that expectation to know exactly what next and what I need to be doing. Because again, just like the season is really inviting us to go with the flow of nature because we are also nature and we live in these different cycles. So it's like that, leaves falling, changing season, reflecting where I stand now. And I wanted to share a couple of lessons that I'm currently kind of experiencing, reflecting, and been going through. Lesson number one, I'm learning to lean more into my spirituality. I know I've had my own experiences with religious trauma. I've experienced so many different faiths, paths, religions, etc., spirituality. But for me, I've just been lately leaning into prayer and God as well. And my God is really has no religion institution attached. And if that is for you, and if that is you, that's okay. You are allowed to choose whatever works for you. But I've been reading a lot in praying, and I bought this little prayer book on TikTok. Actually, I can share the link. But it's been really helping me because it has different prayers, and I've been doing that every night. And I've also just been leaning into God's plan, what God has planned for me. And I think that's part of also surrendering to the fact that I don't have to control all the time, every aspect of my life, because that leads to burnout, to decision fatigue. And honestly, I just want to sometimes take a break. Actually, I wanted to share, I saw a YouTube video because I've been also being into watching some YouTube videos, and one video I saw the girl said something along the lines with, God is making things happen for me. And I feel that resonated so much with me because I was like, wow, that's the kind of surrender I want and need right now in this season, in this phase of my life. So I leaned into that. I don't have to know, I don't have to have all of the answers. I can let God lead me. I can lean into God, into prayer. And that's been honestly one of the things that I feel have been really grounding for me lately. And I've been reminded that God has a plan for me, even when I don't see it, even when I probably don't believe it. And I've also had to deal with a lot of understanding right now that rejection is redirection. I've been working on healing my relationship with rejection, and in different projects that I've been doing, I realized that people can say no, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that that defines my identity. That doesn't define my worth. That doesn't define me. It's just God's plan. It's just I'm being redirected into something different, into something better. So I've been really leaning into that. Let her know, put in the comments if that's something that resonates, and what have you been leaning into that have been supporting you through this process or these changes of seasons in your life. Lesson two, I am constantly reminding myself that I have everything I need, and that it's also okay to want more, and that it's also okay to want different. I honestly have everything I used to pray for. And I realize this now because sometimes, I mean, what I see is as a society, we want more. We see online, we see everything what people have, and people's, highlight reel, which it's not usually a reality. So understanding that I am already abundant, I am abundance, and I don't want to come in with this scarcity mindset. That's not helpful for me or for anybody. And yet it's okay to pivot. It's okay to want different, and it's okay to want more. But again, knowing, coming from a place of abundance, coming from a place of gratitude. That's the key. And this is in all areas of my life: relationships, friendships, projects, career. If this is where you're at, let me know in the comments if this is something that you've experienced either in this season or other seasons where you're learning, you're coming into this realization. Lesson three, I am giving myself permission to outgrow people that no longer fits in my life. Everyone serves a purpose in our lives in different phases and areas and versions of our lives. But not everyone is also meant to stay. Not everyone is meant to stay in our lives all the time. we outgrow people. And I saw somewhere online, I have to really look into this, but it said that women outgrow or change friendships every like 7 years or something like that. Not like that people are disposable, but we change through our lives, through these different milestones, even developmentally, even as we age through our different phases. That's okay. Like giving myself permission to outgrow people. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that the other person or the other people are bad. It's just we outgrow people, and that's okay. We can find gratitude, we can express gratitude, we can express support, but we also need to find our own community based on where we are in that moment. So I can hold gratitude, of course, and also grieve at the same time, and learning to release people with compassion and love as well. What do you think? Let me know in the comments in here if that is something that you've experienced. Lesson 4, my career is not my entire identity. Okay, I am a therapist, but I am not just a therapist. I am not just a wife. I am not just a content creator. I am not just a business owner. I am more than that. I am more than my followers, my likes, my engagement, and I get to define who I am again and again and redefine again and again as many times as I want to and I need to. So letting go of people's definitions of me, of even my own definitions, right? Sometimes we put ourselves in a box and we put ourselves in these identities, and we get to also outgrow that. Nobody gets to define that for us. So this is a reminder that I get to be, and you also get to be a new version of yourself without any apology, being unapologetic about it. Lesson 5, slowing down brings clarity for me. I realize that sometimes the more I slow down, the more clarity I get. Sometimes we try to seek for answers outside of us. You may probably go with the tarot lady online, looking for answers and resources and see how we can connect with other people's experiences. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I have come to the realization that I already have all of the answers within me. You have all of the answers within you. But there's so much noise. There's so much distraction outside that we don't get to listen to ourselves. This phase of my life, I've had to make a couple of decisions and ultimately figuring out what's best for me in my business, in my career, and to bring more like stability. There's just like obviously a lot of fear, and I don't want to operate from that fear, but also knowing that I already have all of the answers. Like I remember going out for a walk during my lunchtime, in between client sessions, and I realized, yeah, I knew that. I know that that is the best path for me in this moment because these are my priorities. So I felt like removing the distraction, removing the noise. That's what we need to be doing, and that's what I've been doing. And I feel like more clarity on that. So let me know in the comments if this is something that you've done or where you're at with this in this season, in this phase in your life, and whether this lesson or this tip is helpful for you. So, lesson number 6, hustle culture will consume you. The constant go, 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 vamos a chingarle, on to the next thing, it will lead to burnout. It will lead to emptiness. It will lead to trying to fill up a void, whether the trauma is right, whether a void it again become a coping mechanism to avoid feeling, to avoid checking in with ourselves, to avoid making a decision, to avoid vulnerability, to avoid something. Okay. So sometimes, again, hustle culture, nothing wrong with it. Sometimes we have to be hustling, and there are also times for us to rest, for go inward, for slowing down, because productivity doesn't define your work. The more that you do, it's not going to be make you more valuable. Right. So this is something that I've been unlearning. And I do have to say, like, sometimes I lay down, I take a break, and I'm like, oh my God, should I be doing something? Or I need to be doing something. And I look at my calendar and I'm like, what's there's nothing in there. I can give myself permission to slow down, to rest, to be okay with not doing anything, like being a couch potato, and that's okay. So in this season, I want to invite you to slow down, to go inward. That is so necessary to regulate our nervous system, to check in with ourselves, right? To integrate healing. It's not just about, okay, I'm doing the inner work and I'm moving on to the next, and or entrepreneurship. Like, I know that entrepreneurship, or if you're not an entrepreneur, or even in your career or whatever you're doing, it's going to mirror a lot of internal things, either that we've worked through, or that we've still working, or that we have not even looked into, right? Maybe we haven't even looked into that shadow because it's too scary. And that's okay. One step at a time. But giving yourselves to slow down, which is something that I have been doing. Let me sip on this, because that's a reminder. Next, lesson number 7: redefining womanhood and expectations. I know this is a big one for many of my Latinas, many of my first gens. I work with a lot of millennials. I'm a millennial woman too. I think this is something that I've worked through since I started my healing journey. It's, you know, learning to not take other people's expectations as that's what I need to be doing. It's about unlearning a lot of the conditioning, the generational narratives, the scripts that I've kind of held, who I need to be, how I need to be as a woman, where I need to be in this phase of my life as a 37-year-old Latina woman who's married, whether I need to be having children, whether I need to be making this amount of money, whether I need to be doing all of these things. It's fucking exhausting. I don't want that. And I am not going to listen to these scripts. I am part of this work as I'm breaking these cycles. I'm breaking these generational narratives of where we need to be. I'm speaking up, I'm healing out loud, and also healing silently too, because there's so much strength, there's so much wisdom that comes from that, of going inward instead of just being out there and like exposed. I don't want my entire life to be exposed, which is why I'm super particular around what I share and who I share, because I don't believe everyone deserves a vulnerability either. Okay, clock that, and remember that not everyone deserves your vulnerability. Maybe right now I'm just going on a tangent, but that's what I felt like I needed to say. I think that, again, coming back to the expectations, there's so much that we are unlearning. And I think that part of this process is giving ourselves a lot of grace. I've been giving myself so much grace, understanding that generationally, our parents, immigrants, and older generations, that's what they knew. So also giving them grace, giving them compassion, and they knowing that they've also done the best that they could with the resources, inner and outer resources that we have. So again, learning to be gentle with myself as I unlearn, as I break generational cycles and narratives of silence, of scripts of where I think I need to be in life. Right? And focusing on what do I want? What will feel fulfilling and what will align with me right now. And also giving myself permission to pivot as many times as I want to at any phase or point in my life. Like, that is okay. Lesson number 8, and a big one, is that external validation can only go so far. External validation, it's like temporary dopamine hit. Social media creates a false scarcity comparison trap. And I feel like I've been there. And I'm at a point in my life again donde me vale madres. Okay, me vale madres, que piensa la gente. Sin embargo, there's this again, like putting myself out there makes you vulnerable. It has made me vulnerable, for people's opinions, for people's perceptions. I try not to focus on that, but this is something that I've had to do again a lot of inner work. And I recognize that I don't want to be out there to seek external validation. I want to put myself out there to support other people, to bring resources. But again, our own conditioning, our own wounds are always going to come up. They're going to come up through fear of rejection, fear of criticism, comparison. These are all very human things. First of all, I want to acknowledge that, okay? And second of all, and normalize that. But it's really about having social illiteracy, having a self awareness and understanding when you get activated. And for me, has been realizing that maybe before in the past I've sought external validation and focused on that. And that's not the way that I want to operate anymore. And that's not the way that I'm operating anymore. But still, I think like this is a reminder to stop chasing that dopamine high all the time, to focus on your why, focus on your purpose. Again, this is the next lesson, which I'm going to go more into it in a minute. But yeah, practicing grounding myself, practicing being present, practicing being inspired, and being authentic. And that's what it is, not so much of what are other people going to say or how many likes I'm going to have. That's not how I am operating or how I want to operate. So that's that. Lesson 9. I am really calling back my purpose. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is my purpose? What is my why? That is a big question that it's been a little bit hard to come back to, but I am giving myself space to remind myself, especially when either there's a rough patch or you're going through a season where there's like so much confusion, frustration, so many changes, and many things are not going your way. It's really hard to think about, why am I doing this? So it's really reconnecting to that. That's what I've been doing. Who am I outside of the external validation? And also, I think that one of the things I'm big at redefining, and you're always going to hear me say this with everything, because I think we are fluid human beings. We are forever evolving. We're not just stuck. And when we stuck and we put ourselves in that stuckness, in that box, that's what exactly we're living, where we're going to be. That's exactly how we're going to feel. We're going to feel small. We're going to feel boxed in. That's not how we are. That's not how we function as humans. So again, I think that for me, a big one is that purpose can evolve, that we can redefine what that means for us. It's not fixed, it's fluid. Um, I don't want to operate in the scarcity kind of mindset in survival anymore. I'm coming home to myself. And for me, what matters most in this moment is having peace internally, externally, in my surrounding, in my relationships, in my friendships. I think relationships are a big part of me. And I've looked into my birth chart, and it's like a lot of my planets and signs are actually in the relationship house, which is very interesting because that's exactly the work that I'm doing with my clients, with the work that I do. So it is aligning back to my purpose, to my peace. I'm not out here to perform. I'm here to be real. I want to show my realness. Again, it's going to take me a little bit of time because you might think that I'm an extrovert, but I can be a little bit of both, introvert, extrovert. I don't like sharing. I have very real boundaries when it comes to sharing about my personal life. That's just me. I'm protective. I'm a very protective person. I'm protective of myself, my energy, my abundance, my relationships. That's just how I am. Anyways, that's what I wanted to share. And I think right now I'm not feeling lost, feeling guided. I'm feeling supported. So if you are in this season of uncertainty, know that you are not alone and understand that it's okay to slow down. It's okay to disappear for a little bit. It's okay to live day by day. The quiet seasons can feel scary, but the pauses are so necessary. And understand that this is where the work is happening. Something new is coming. And that's how I'm feeling. And I hope that you do take this with you. And I hope this episode is helpful. I hope you liked it. Share it and give it some love, comment. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave a review on Spotify and also in Apple Podcasts. And honestly, share this with someone who needs it. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok as at Cynthia Flores with T. And we will be seeing you on the next episode. I really enjoyed doing this episode. If you liked it too, please leave a comment because I would like to do more of these. Y nos vemos al siguiente episodio. Bye.